In our next segment, we'll have an opportunity to look at each of these fundamental factors of educational results, beginning with the institutional culture and looking at some of the details associated with each of the others that we explained in our last segment. Institutional culture is a big deal. Universities have personalities when you go from one to the other. They have a historical way of how they go about teaching, and that varies from school to school. It's heavily influenced by the promotion criteria at the school, so I've actually heard university professors at some institutions tell me that they had been told by their administration any time that you spend on teaching is a waste of your time, that you should minimize your effort and input into teaching and focus heavily on your empirical research and raising the reputation of your contributions to the pool of knowledge in the world. Now, for me, this philosophy is anathema. If I'm going to be, as a professional, standing up in front of people trying to educate them, it seems to me that I have a responsibility to do the best possible job I can. If I'm going into a classroom of any sort, and there are people in the room waiting for me to somehow facilitate their growth, then it seems to me I want to bring everything I possibly can to that effort. Now, I understand that many other institutions do not have that philosophy, and they're heavily focused on research. For example, in doctoral programs, in my doctoral program, we had a required course on teaching. In most doctoral programs, I think there are none. In fact, they may or may not have doctoral students teaching as teaching assistants, trying to, by osmosis, pick up some ideas about how to teach, but with no formal education about how people learn, about how you facilitate learning, and what all those variable options might look like. So, whether you're teaching undergraduate and graduate students in your institution will have a big difference as well. And then even in the corporate world, are you going to do your educational activities in-house? Are you going to contract with educational institutions, universities, or even local consultants to try to maximize the return on investment that you get on your capital investment on education and your human capital? So if an organization, company in particular, does not have a way of thinking about the strategic integration of whatever educational experiences they offer, intentional or otherwise, they're probably wasting a lot of time, money, and energy that could be focused to the benefit and the functionality of the corporation. So we could think about culture as a set of shared verbs. Whether it's in a nation or a global region or a religion or a school or a program or a company, shared verbs form the foundation of our culture, the way we do things around here, our assumptions about how you behave, how you dress, how you speak, what you do, what you don't do, and all of those other factors will be important considerations in thinking about how can I most effectively influence this group of students. So one way to think about this is to consider the differences between a focus on empirical research on the vertical axis and a focus on the teaching process on the horizontal axis. So most universities tend to operate up here in the Northwest. Consulting firms, particularly those who are engaged in research and publishing, may be down in here, although some of them may not engage in research and therefore would be in a different place on this grid. Corporate trainers tend to focus primarily on teaching and relying on university or some consulting firms who publish monographs and so forth for the source of their content. So you have this sort of cascading picture based on the balance between doing research, adding knowledge to the pool, and utilizing that research for the benefit of the practicing manager. I think many universities, not all, but some, like ours, perhaps the Harvard Business School and others, would target this northeastern quadrant where we can at the same time be engaged in highly productive research, but also equally committed to an energetic and talented and effective process for translating that research into terms and ideas that the practicing manager can apply on a regular basis.